It's like we've lost our minds. You take a look at the news. Crime is at an all-time high. We can't keep pretending to be blind. No more prayer in the schools. Now kids have one less good thing to choose. And now they're being killed in the classrooms. I wish I could take it all away, but all I can do is pray that things change. Something's gotta change. I pray things change. We can't go on like this, the way that we so let's pray things change. We can't go on like this. We're living in a time where nobody seems to care. It's like we've lost our minds. HIV is on the rise, spreading throughout this land. We can't keep pretending to be blind.
All right, good afternoon. This is Derek Braggs, and I'd like to welcome you to Weekly Wisdom, where we dive into the Word of God with clarity, reverence, and truth. Now, I have a question, which is, have you ever wondered why God did punish Moses? Well, why God did not punish Moses when he murdered a man, but he was punished when he struck a rock? So the question is, have you ever wondered why when Moses killed the Egyptian, he was not punished, but when he struck the rock, God did punish him? And it seems backwards. Okay, it can seem backwards. Murder goes unpunished, but a moment of frustration cost Moses the promised land. So let's get into this and break this down. So our subject for today is why striking a rock costs more than killing a man. The deeper justice of God in the story of Moses. So let's begin with Exodus chapter 2. Verse 11 says, "And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to them that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. Verse 15, Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and went into the land of Midian and sat down by a well. Now, just for extra information, so let's understand this. The where Midian, where Moses fled to, is one of Abraham's sons, one of the sons of Keturah. Okay, this is where you get the Midianites from, and some believe the Arabians. So this is where Moses fled from Egypt to Midian in hiding from Pharaoh after he murdered an Egyptian. Now, later, when we go to Exodus 3, we're going to see that the angel of the Lord appeared unto Moses. Verse 1 says, Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. The angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush, And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place wherein thou standest is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. Now, let me say this right quick. This is God introducing himself to Moses. Now, think about this. In order for God to introduce himself to Moses, that means that Moses does not know who God is. That's very important to understand. God is establishing a relationship with Moses in this instance. Verse 7 says, And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. Verse 10 says, Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moses said unto God, Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. Wait, let's pause for a second. Because Moses is telling God, okay, I'm nobody. How can I go in front of Pharaoh? Right? And God said, well, I'm going to give you a sign. I'm going to be with you, but I'm going to give you a sign. But notice the sign that God gives him is that you're going to return to this place and worship. They're going to worship me. The sign had nothing to do with anything with him being with Moses while Moses was in the presence of Pharaoh. Because what God has given him is the assurance that, hey, it's going to be all right. Don't worry about what's going to happen in front of Pharaoh. Just know that when it's all said and done, you're going to return here with the people and they're going to worship me. And I think that's important to understand, that sometimes when we're asking God for things, God doesn't give us what we're specifically looking for. Because like I say with Moses was looking for something that, okay, God is with him while he's there with Pharaoh. That's not what God gave him. God said, the sign that I'm with you. But the sign is when you return. Okay, let's get back into the scriptures. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say to them, The God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? Wait a minute. So this means also now Moses is asking on behalf of the people. When I tell them that, the God of your fathers is him, they're going to say, What's his name? Which means that these people, these Hebrews, do not know who God is. Okay, let's understand what is developing, what is unfolding in this text while we're reading it. Okay, verse 14 says, And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am had sent me unto you. And God said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, The Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, had sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Now, let's recap this. In Exodus chapter 2, Moses sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. In a moment of anger and perhaps justice to him, he kills the Egyptian and hides the body in the sand. Pharaoh eventually finds out, and Moses flees from Pharaoh to Midian and hides in Midian. But here's the thing: there is no mention of God punishing Moses. Oh. There is no mention of God punishing Moses. No thunder, no plagues, no divine rebuke. We don't see anything. Okay. The question is why? But we're not going to give you the answer right now. Let's continue. Okay. In Numbers 20, the Israelites were in the desert, and this is after the law is given. The law has been given at this point in Numbers 20. We're going to pick up with verse 1. Then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month. And the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moses and spake, saying, would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord? Would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord? Now, chode here is going to be the Hebrew word reeb, and it means to quarrel. Okay, so they're quarreling with Moses and Aaron. Okay, now you got to understand it. Let me say this. Let me pause and give you something. We're in Numbers 20, but now Numbers 20 is after, because I need to help you understand who Israel was and maybe help you understand why Moses felt the way he felt. We're in Numbers 20. They're arguing with Moses and Aaron. But this is after Numbers 14 and 22, which says that because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened unto my voice. So God is saying that in Numbers 14, God is saying that, you know what? I'm sick of these people, this stiff-necked people. It's been 10 times so far they have tempted me. They have upset God 10 times. This was in Numbers 14, because now remember, they're always punished and say that they're going to, those that came out of Egypt that are over 20 years old are going to die in the wilderness because of their disobedience. So here we are in Numbers 20. They're still disobedient, and they're mad at excuse me. Now they're mad at Moses and Aaron again. They're mad at Moses and Aaron again. So watch this. Pick up with verse 4. And why have ye brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die here? And therefore have ye made us come up out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It is no place for seed, or for figs, or for vines, or for pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. Now, number one is they're not in the promised land. They haven't got to the promised land yet. They're wandering because of their disobedience, and now they're upset with the place that they're wandering in. This is not their promised land. They are wandering in the wilderness, in the desert. Okay, let's continue. Verse 6. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto them. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the rod and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shall give the congregation and their beasts drink. Now, you got to understand, God said, speak unto the rock. Speak unto the rock in their presence, before their eyes, and it shall give forth its water. Okay? Therefore, and you'll be able to give the congregation and the beasts drink. Verse 9, and Moses took the rod from before the Lord as he commanded him, and Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Wait a minute. Moses is going off. He's called the people rebels. Hear now, ye rebels. And now he said, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Okay. And when he's calling them rebels, the Hebrew words myra. He's calling them rebellious. They rebels against God. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. However, okay, there is something wrong with that when God didn't instruct you to do that. Okay. Now, verse 11, and Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. Excuse me. Let me take a step back. There is something wrong with you not doing what thus said the Lord, because there are many believers that they get mad on behalf of God, and they attack people as if God needs us to defend him. So that is wrong. I just wanted to clear that up. Okay. Again, verse 11 says, and Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. He smote the rock twice. God told him to speak to it. He smote it. Okay. Verse 12 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. So again, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he was sanctified in them. Now, let me say this. Okay. Let me say this. For you to understand this, when the children of Israel were punished in the wilderness, say that they're going to spend, these 40 days, approximately 40 days, 40 years wandering. And everybody that is over 20 is going to die. This does not include Moses and Aaron. Okay. But now we're seeing that it did not include Moses and Aaron, and did not include Joshua and Caleb. But now we're seeing Moses and Aaron are going to be punished and have to die in the wilderness, because God says, you did not believe me to sanctify me in front of the congregation. That's what God is saying. You did not believe me. Okay, so watch this. As a result of what Moses did, God delivers the judgment. Because you did not believe me to sanctify me in the eyes of the Israelites, you will not bring this assembly into the promised land that I gave them, because you did not believe me. Okay. Now, wait a minute. Maybe we have to understand who Moses is. Okay. I want to take you back to Numbers 12. Let me show you exactly who this man is, because this man did a lot. This man was great. Okay. Let me take you back to Numbers 12. Okay. When Aaron, his brother Aaron, and his sister Miriam had a problem with Moses. Numbers 12:2. And they said, had the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Had he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forward. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Okay, so God is saying that, let me let you know how I'm going to choose, how I choose my prophets. In a vision, in a dream. But he said with Moses, it's not a dream or a vision. I speak to him mouth to mouth. So it's like a conversation with Moses because of who made what this man was great. So this is that same Moses that his sister is going to be punished for speaking against him. That God had this same great man that God set up a meeting because his sister and his brother had a problem with him. Okay, now let's get back to what we're talking about. It wasn't just about Moses hitting the rock. It was about disobedience in leadership. So what Moses says and does is a reflection of God. I need you to understand that. So with Moses being this great person who he was, the only one that God is speaking to, okay, what he says and does is always a reflection of God. So what Moses did is he misrepresented God to the people. That's what Moses did. He misrepresented God to the people. So when Moses called them rebels and struck the rock, he made it seem as if God was mad with the people. When Moses called them rebels and struck the rock, he made it seem as if God was mad with the people. So instead of showing God's mercy and instruction, he acted out of his own frustration. So now Moses is going to be punished. He cannot enter into the land, the promised land. So wait a minute. He murdered a man, no consequences, no punishment. But now he's struck a rock and called the people rebels. Nobody died. Nobody was lost. And now he's being punished. There's a judgment against him, and he cannot enter into the promised land. So the question is, why? Why? Why is it that when Moses murdered a man, there was no punishment? But now, for him losing his temper, his cool, and calling the people rebels and striking a rock, he is punished. Why? Well, let's go to Romans 5:12 through 14. Therefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For, pay attention, for until the law, sin was in the world, but sin was not imputed when there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned, after the similitude of Adam's transgression, who is, the figure of him that was to come. I say that death reigned from Adam to Moses. So why would the reigning of death end with Moses? Well, John 1:17, for the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. So wait a minute. So what you have to understand is that the answer of why Moses was not punished for murder, but was punished for striking a rock and calling the people rebels, came thousands of years later. Paul explains that before the law was given through Moses, before the law was given through Moses, sin was not imputed. Sin was not imputed. That means that God did not hold the people fully accountable in the same way. Why? Because the law hadn't been revealed yet. So Moses acting before the formal giving of God's law, when he murdered the Egyptian, was not judged under the same standard he would later help to deliver. Because under the law it says, thou shalt not kill. He killed before the law was given, right? So you have to realize God doesn't judge all sin equally. He judges based on knowledge, revelation, and responsibility. He judges based on knowledge, revelation, and responsibility. So before the law, God's judgment was restrained. But once truth was given, especially to a leader like Moses, accountability came with it. Okay. And what we got to understand is God always instructs before he holds you accountable. So wait a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna save that. God always instructs before he holds you accountable. So murder went unpunished because there was no law. Striking the rock brought judgment because Moses disobeyed clear instructions. You see? And this is why you have to understand that sin is disobedience to God. And with greater revelation comes greater responsibility. Now, let me say this. Because there's some people that's going to say that, or that may say that, you may be thinking this. But Cain killed Abel, and God punished Cain for killing Abel. That was before the law. So how do you explain that? You explain it because God told Cain, what are you doing? Sin lies at your doorstep. You have no reason to be angry because if you do right, then I'll accept your sacrifice. So again, when we understand that God always instructs before he holds you accountable, he instructed Cain before he killed Abel, before he killed his brother. So when he killed his brother and God showed up and asked, where's your brother? When he said, where's your brother? Cain says, am I my brother's keeper? God already knew what it was because God had already warned him that sin was at his doorstep. Okay? So I want you to understand this, because when we say that with greater revelation comes greater responsibility, this is why 1 Samuel 15:22 says, and Samuel said, had the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. Obedience is better than sacrifice, because you got to understand, when you obey God, that's where everything is. See, with sacrifice, a lot of times you're just going through the motion. No, God needs obedience. God needs obedience. And truth be told, if you submit your body as a living sacrifice, then you will be obedient to God. Now, what do we learn from this? We learn that obedience matters, that leadership comes with great responsibility. And we also learn that God's justice is deeper than we sometimes understand. So, and you look at Moses, as great of a man that he was, this prophet, this great prophet, the first prophet that gave the law of God, the Ten Commandments, and also that wrote 600 plus laws that were statutes and judgments for the promised land. This great man, because he misrepresented God, God said that, okay, I got to punish you too. Now you're going to suffer the same consequence of those that did not believe me, those that were disobedient. Just like they're going to die in the wilderness, you're going to die in the wilderness now too, you and Aaron. God is just. God is just. No such thing as unfair. Because when we look at life, everything may seem to be unfair. It's not fair that I'm not tall. It's not fair that I'm not younger. You see? It's not fair that I'm not a billionaire. If we want to look, you know what I'm saying, we want to be crazy with things. However, God is just. God is just. God is a just God. So if this video gave you any new insight, make sure that you like it. Make sure that you share it and on YouTube. Subscribe for our future biblical breakdowns. And until next time, just remember that the true measure of a man is based on his heart. God bless you and keep you.